Well, hi there from the Lunch and Learn at the Founders Office. Joining us today, an amazing team from all over, it seems like part of the planet anyway, or at least we cover half the planet. I'm Tom Powell, and I got to tell you, I'm out on the road right now, and it's one of those interesting times of the year where it's December, and of course, all of us want to be home, and anybody who knows me, I want to be on the ski hill. But I'm actually out there meeting with a number of our investments and firms that we sit on the boards, and the recurring theme is always about what's going on in 2026. And I'm stuck here reminding them that we still have 3 weeks in 2025 to make an outstanding number that comes in. We know we're all looking at, and we're giving, our team 2 weeks off during the holidays. So, but as we're getting in there, what are we still doing today to maximize this year? And I just had an event where we're meeting with a group and a large capital raise, and the main thing that stuck out on the balance sheet to the bankers in the room, myself and the others, was you have a large number of receivables that you want to capture before this year end, because it makes a huge difference on how your financials end up looking like, especially when you've got your bank financing and everything else out there. So you've got, this is again when we say your accountants and your internal team and your bankers and your attorneys may not all be talking to each other, because you've got one thing, which is, hey, if we don't collect it until next year, we're not paying taxes till next year. But that also can impact what you look like for this year on these financials. And people can get the misleading that you're not properly disclosing everything. So do everything, clean up this year, get it good, and let's go have an amazing 2026. But it's not 2026 yet, right? Founders Advocacy. Candace, hi, you're back at home.
Hi.
Your little sister's down here with me. We're in Austin.
And my husband.
And your husband, I know. We're out here. We're out here in Austin with Alex doing a great show. Tell us about what you're doing and where, and then tell us about our guest.
Yeah. I'm excited that Kevin was able to join us today. So we've got Kevin Peterson on the Lunch and Learn. And I want to introduce you guys to Kevin. He is one of our favorite people to have on a panel of sharks.
The
Jackie is
gummy
the nicest
sharks.
looking one. Um, and I want to tell you guys why. So he's the founder of Growth Stack and the trusted voice inside Sastermind, which is different than what I have in my house, which is a sassy Sastermind. This is Sass double A. uh, he started companies, scaled them, exited them, and distilled every lesson into a simple truth. Founders move faster when their systems actually support them. Uh, Kevin has a calm, clear way of seeing what most people miss. It's one of the reasons we love having him on a Shark panel. He knows how to tighten operations, sharpen focus, and remove that friction that's draining both time and money. In Sastermind, founders count on him for that steady guidance. And this is why we wanted him here today for our second to last year-end Lunch and Learn. This is the season when founders reflect, reset, and prepare for the next year. And Kevin is the person you want helping you make sense of what to keep, what to cut, and how to build a cleaner, stronger foundation for the new year. So we're excited to have you here, buddy.
Very good. Thank you, Candace. So I'm going to start at the very beginning. I am the proverbial founder who had the lemonade stand. In my case, it was lemonade and popcorn. That was my competitive advantage at 5 years old. I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. I can't get it out of my system. Therapy has not solved that for me. I just keep starting and buying companies. And I had a weird childhood. I actually ran over my leg with a lawnmower when I was 8. Fortunately, did not lose any digits. I still have my leg, but there was something profound from that experience for me. Like I came away from that thinking, like, well, that didn't kill me, so I must be good. So I have always approached my life and my business with a certain sense of fearlessness, and that certainly helps to support my entrepreneurial nature, because anyone who starts a business or buys a business has to be just a little bit edgy, right? You've got to have that entrepreneurial spirit, truly internalized and embraced in order to go down that journey. So I'll give a little bit more about my background, but what I really want to cover today is, how to be fundraising ready, how to be pitch ready. What does that really mean? And then what are you going to do with the money? Because that's actually a really critical piece.
Well, but you and I last week were also in Austin. So I was in Austin, then I was in Atlanta, then I was in DC, and now I'm back to Austin again. And I don't have a house in Austin. It's almost starting to be that way, but I should. But you said something really, really important. And our team has found this. Candace and Jackie have said it over and over again. Angela and Kelly say it is repeatedly. The founders do not want to hear that they're not capital ready. They're not capital raise ready. And that, have you ever walked in the door and they're like, hey, we're ready to go raise capital, and you're like, yeah, you're actually ready to go, let's do this right away? Or is it like, you are so far from being ready to raise capital, you don't even see the starting line, let alone the finish line? Which one of those is generally what you see?
Yeah, that is right. So I would say 80% of the people who approach me are not ready. And they're not ready in a variety of ways, right?
Yeah,
So
it's
I think
crazy.
people misconstrue, like Jackie and I've had a number of calls lately where they're very product ready. They're product ready. They feel really good about their
sure.
product. They're either ready to scale that product, they have that plan figured out, they know maybe a little bit more who their customer is or what their customer looks like. And they think that being product ready, which still their product needs improvement, they think that being product ready is the same thing as being capital ready. Are you seeing that as well, Kevin?
Absolutely. And so, without putting a negative connotation on this, it's kind of founder syndrome, right? Founders tend to be big picture innovators, visionaries, and they want to build the best widget the world has ever seen. Doesn't matter what the product is. They want to get it right, like we all have a passion for delivering something really good. And so it's unfortunately easy to let some of the fundamentals fall by the wayside in a way that, in a way where your future self may be looking back and pointing fingers at your past self saying, why weren't you ready when the money was there? Right. So
Yeah,
it's a critical piece.
it's the idea of the preparedness meets opportunity is the definition of success, right? And that's how you win. But the transverse of that is, if opportunity shows up and you're not prepared, it either passes you by or makes you look like a fool. And so what we find in a lot of cases, and Jackie and I oftentimes will use this as the example, is where it shows up a lot of times is your data room. They're like, it's in there. It's like,
Mm.
your data room's a mess. We can't find anything just by putting it in a room. It's the old story of a bunch of shit around. And it's like, there must be a pony in here somewhere. It's like, no, you've got to actually have a framework. And that's what you help a lot of your founders do, is get that framework and systems around that, right?
That is right. Yeah. And Sir Richard Branson is famous for saying luck favors the prepared. And I embrace that, because there is, and this is kind of a tangent from what you were saying, Thomas, but in business, I think a lot of us experience that debate around, like, okay, how much of my success is based on just hard work, just the roll up your sleeves and get it done mentality versus dumb luck, right? Because
Yeah,
luck definitely
Yeah.
plays into every success story to some extent.
it
Um,
definitely does.
and so the way I reconciled that is from that phrase from Branson.
So how do you take it down from, because Candace and I have also seen this in even family members at times, but that what they do is they hear, oh, I must be prepared. So they spend all of their time preparing to start, but actually never start, where there's that blend of the people that are also hold my beer and watch this. And then there's the people that are like, oh, I must be prepared. So they spend all of their time preparing to start, but actually never start, where there's that blend of the people that are also hold my beer and watch this. And then there's the people that are like, oh, I must be prepared. So they spend all of their time preparing to start, but actually never start, where there's that blend of the people that are also hold my beer and watch this. and then get going, and they're constantly the building behind it scenario, which I tend to be probably way more in that category now and look back because of all the bruising and broken bones. Scenario is, that's the reality of, if you're just, oh, I got to get my LLC right, or I'm not going to start anything till I get my docs back from the attorney, or boy, they said we've got to have a data room. Let's make sure, instead of building it out, it's an and, not a do this first type scenario.
Yeah, that's a great exploration, Thomas. And there's two directions we can take it. One is, I read a Harvard study once about the amount of time that salespeople get prepared to make a sale, and the findings were that most salespeople only spend about 30% of their time selling, because everything, they feel like, and I've heard this from founders, right? They feel like everything has to be perfect before they can get to step one. Like, my coffee has to be a certain temperature, and the lighting has to be a certain way. Oh, now I'm hungry, and well, I'm a little tired from the gym. Like, there's always something that's distracting you from actually doing the work that needs to be done. And founders are notorious for doing that. But my advice is, follow your passion and know what you're good at, and delegate everything else, right?
You
So
had
delegation
mentioned
is at least part of the answer.
you had mentioned that there were some fundamentals, Kevin, that you teach, and I want to give a little bit of context around this difference between being product ready and being capital ready or ready to raise capital. We meet with a lot of founders who, like you mentioned, passion. They're so in the weeds and so excited about what they're offering the world that they show up to a pitch call with investors and they dive right in, and we get an hour-long pitch on how great the product is, or whatever there is they're doing, the project maybe, right? And we'll try to steer toward, okay, what are you asking for from investors? What are you offering investors? We had one specific pitch where we asked, who is your ideal audience? Like, who's your ideal investor? And they were a doctor's office that started talking about their patients. Very different. The patients are the ideal target for the product that they're offering. Way different conversation, way different framework, context, audience, everything when they're looking for investment, right? So can you, give us some of those, the fundamentals that you referred to?
Sure. Yeah. And so actually, thank you for that. And I'm going to go back just a half a step here to finish out the thoughts around my background, and sharing a little bit more about my experience, I think will help frame that conversation. So the lawnmower incident, from that experience, there were some positive outcomes, right? Both spiritually and mentally, and which sounds weird, but it's true. But the other side effect was I got a tiny bit of insurance money in case I ever needed surgery on my leg, which I didn't. But my father came to me at the time and said, "Hey, this payout you got, it's either going to sit in the bank at a very small percent interest, or you can start investing it." And I was a nerdy kid, so I started investing in stocks when I was 9. I was actually reading the Business Times before school every day because there was no internet. So in order to see how my investments were performing, I was on a 1-day delay. I'd get up in the morning, have my Cheerios, open the Business Times, look at my tickers, and see how I did the day before. And so that experience from a very young age taught me a lot about macroeconomics and cause and effect. I know this sounds weird, but I was a weird kid. So I really did learn macroeconomics before getting
Eating
to
your
middle
Cheerios.
school, eating my Cheerios. Yeah.
Eating
And
your
there was a day,
Cheerios.
yes, and there was a day where one of the companies I invested in got acquired. And I was like, "Mom, we're having pancakes today." Because it was like a huge gain from one day to the next. So
I
that
love
was
that.
that was my introduction to private capital and private equity. So and I had my first programming class when I was 9 as well, working on a prototype for the
You were
Apple
in
One.
You were in Silicon Valley until when? You left
Yeah,
San Francisco,
until
Silicon Valley.
I grew up in the Silicon Valley and moved away after high school, and
Nice.
then it's just coincidentally today I'm back in Silicon Valley, but just for a couple of days.
Yeah.
So I had an IPO early in my career. I just fell into a pre-IPO startup during college. I was number 13 at a staffing company that's still trading today with $4 billion market cap.
Nice.
My last W-2 was in 1997. Then I spent 20 years consulting, mostly in financial services, mostly in the Bay Area. So my clients were all the big banks and big brokers. And I'm a data nerd, which actually plays in this conversation. Data is a key piece of being fundraising ready and actually, well, doing anything in business. Like
It's
I
key.
always say, yeah, the money's in the data.
It's key because what we talk about is, we talk about the challenge, which is the bad guy, and then we talk about the, what is the champion or the hero, and then so what's the change? What does it really mean for investors, or what's it mean for your customers? But then the next piece on that, and it's built throughout the whole storytelling, is you're trying to get to a me too, which is, yeah, I understand, that's who you're trying to talk to. But if you lose credibility anywhere along the story goes off the rails and you almost never get it back. And the credibility, and this goes back to even a meeting I had yesterday, when the finance people are telling me it's about, as opposed to it's exactly 42.3%, right? Or if they say it's slightly more than 42, I'd be okay if them saying it's slightly more than 42 and it's 42.3. But if it's 41.9, they lost credibility, right? I mean, I now am digging everywhere, and that's in the data and being able to tell a story about data. So how do you help your clients do that? And your clients are everywhere from people with wealth to people who are building their companies, right? So Sastermind is about the companies, the people that are building their companies, and then sometimes they exit, which is what we love, and they become the founders with wealth. So tell me how all that works.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So my Sastermind members, everyone's had at least one exit. So that's the commonality. So there are people in the Sastermind that are running startups in early stage tech, but they have had that experience of taking one to market, going through all the pain of the MVP and product market fit and ideal customer profile, and then generating revenue and taking it to a point where someone will actually buy it. And yet their second or third or fourth startup is painful all over again. There's no shortcut, right? So that I always
we are
find...
gluttons for pain.
Yes,
it's like being an ultra marathon person or a triathlete or whatever it is. We have to be gluttons for pain. Have to.
Indeed. Yes. So I do see founders at every level of play, from startup, multi-time startup, to bootstrap to 9 figures ARR. And there's some phenomenal stories along the way. But so getting into the fundraising piece and pitch readiness or fundraising readiness piece, I did get my securities license a year ago for the first time in my career, even though I've been around financial services for 30 years. And so I am coaching and helping founders at every level of play to raise whatever capital they need and whatever they need it for. So it could be M&A, could be for bolt-on acquisition or a tuck-in or for exit. So it's a little bit, I see a little bit of everything, and again at every level, from a few $1 million in seed money to 9 figures in growth capital or M&A.
So who are you looking to help? Who's the right client listening to this here that says, Kevin is my guy I'm going to?
Yeah, so I really do have capital partners from at every stage, from seed to A round, B, C, D, E, F, G, all the way through IPO if needed. But ideal for me is kind of that 10 million to 100 million raise.
So we're in the same space, which is awesome. And that's also tells you the space is big. There's lots of us to be able to help and guide people through there, and we have different skill sets. You said something again last week that I thought was brilliant, which was, Candace hears this a lot, and I think Jackie hears this a lot. Oh, are there going to be investors in the room? And it's like, absolutely. But you are not introducing them to their investors until they are ready, because the investors pick up your call because they know you're delivering ready people to them, right? So they get ready. It's not, and we're not talking a long time, but a lot of times it can be 3 or 4 months to get them ready through that process. Sometimes it's much
That's
shorter, but
exactly right.
yeah.
Yeah, and then a lot of founders do not fully appreciate how closely I guard my reputation and my relationships, right? Like founders come to me and they're like, okay, I'm ready to raise, and they think they're ready to raise, right? And they're like, put me in front of somebody. I'm like, it's not that simple, right? And they're like, well, just put me in front of anybody. And I'm like, I can't. And I tell people, I'm like, I can't do that because my job is to match you with people who I know are liquid today. They've written checks in your vertical in the past, and I know what stage they fund. And this is something that a lot of founders don't really understand is every investor has their own investing thesis, and they believe it's absolutely unique to them, and it mostly is, and they never deviate, right? Because if they do deviate from their thesis, bad things happen. So it's a very narrow focus, and they'll tell you it's not a secret. Usually it's published on their website. It says our mission statement or our investing thesis is this. We're looking for companies that are in this vertical at this stage and this size, and this is their growth trajectory. And these are the terms that we normally operate within. So they'll give you the framework, and they never deviate. So
And that's the me too. So that's why we say if you find your story, what problem you're solving, then you're going to attract the people that have already identified that that's a problem that they're looking to find the people who are solving. And that's why then the capital lines up, right? It's like, we solve this problem. We've identified this problem. This is how we solve this problem. And this is how we can prove that it does. And it's like, ooh, happy marriage.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
It's
Yeah, and
simple.
so yes, sort of.
It's not easy, but it's simple.
From the bleachers, it's simple.
Hey, but you're not telling 100% truth. I got to tell you, I'm going to call you out on it because you are offering an opportunity to have people pitch to potential investors when they may not be ready. Right? Tell me about this. It's coming out March 1st.
Okay, fair. Oh, so yeah, March 1st. Yes, so March 1st, we are hosting the first ever lift pitch, and the idea is we are going to distribute one color ski racing bib to founders and a different color bib to funders. And then there will be a designated chairlift at a ski resort in Lake Tahoe where founders will pitch investors, and they can only pitch on the chair, and it's an 8-minute ride. So it's a variation of the elevator pitch. The inaugural event is happening this March.
And
Yes?
I'm so proud to be offering up our mountain as that mountain. And the chairlift is called American. And so it's just absolutely perfect. Angela just put it in there. It's Lift Pitch Tahoe, which not only did our Sastermind brilliant gentleman make also the website available to us as our landing page to start on this. So we're starting to collect the founders, we're starting to collect the VCs and the money that's coming in. And this is one of those times, but I will tell you what's going to be leading up as people get in there, because neither Kevin nor myself nor any of the money that's on the mountain wants unprepared people in there. So the actual entry is going to include some coaching along the way of how to be prepared to make those pitches. What is it that we're looking? What is a good pitch sound like? What's it look like? And so it'll give access to that over this period of time that we're going through. And you don't have to be a skier, right? We're going to actually have a chairlift that sits down. You don't have to be a skier or a boarder. And so there's actually going to have a chair on the ground. There's going to be a practice chair as well.
You can walk up to it, like someone like me can just walk up and sit.
Yes.
Oh no, you can ski. We know you can ski. I've heard your story.
I don't know that I should.
This is the chairlift that I practice hoisting my small child onto to see if I can actually get her onto the chair and get her off.
Okay, that sounds maybe safe enough for me.
It is stable. You could take the magic carpet up if you want.
Yeah, we can also do that.
I had the pleasure of sitting in as a third wheel on the Meet Cute that was Tom and Kevin. I just enjoyed my burger and just listened to these two catch up like they've had many lifetimes together.
There's no way we didn't know each other. I mean, there's too many
It was
circles,
too
too
weird.
many
It was really
exchanges.
creepy. It could be a Hallmark movie. And seeing the magic of this event come out, and like I know, Kevin, this has been a passionate, like you've had this in your mind, and it's so exciting to get to put this together. There's an application link on the website, so I want to make sure people, click that link, and there's an application deadline of February 15th. So I want to put that out there. I also want to let people know that I've been able to witness these three and Jen Godet do a shark panel, and I believe we have some of those videos on the interwebs. I don't know where they're located, but it's somewhere on Al Gore's internet. And so I will have Angela help post that. But hopefully, sorry, Angela, I threw you there. I want to say it's magic seeing these guys together. Kevin is amazing on the panel. He gives everybody, I think, very clear, calm direction. And so, Kevin, I want to ask you, what is something that you think, like universally, you could almost give? I think a lot of investors have this, that you think investors could, or founders could do to improve their pitch before they get up in front of a panel, or somebody maybe potentially. Oh, there's Gary. Hey, Gary.
I can't hear
Oh,
you,
hey,
but
Gary.
there's Kevin in there and Jackie and Candace.
Kevin is everywhere.
Kevin is
Candace
everywhere.
Hey, Jackie.
Hey, Gary,
Wow.
you're
Gary's
everywhere.
everywhere.
Gary's everywhere.
Gary is
Everywhere we end up together.
Hey, Angela, we need to put up our thing on there just in honor of Gary.
YOS.
This is the founder of the Y operating system. So if you like Simon Sinek, you are going to love Gary Sanchez, because he takes what Simon has done and he simplifies it. You find out your why, your how, and your what in under 8 minutes. So that's always something we have available to our people. But this is the guy that's the founder for that. Another one helping great people across, including now education systems, universities, everything else in there.
Yep.
And by the way, he's a friend of ours with Kevin as well. So there we go. So he's going to be out in Tahoe, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Love
Excellent.
it.
So lots to learn.
Yeah,
We got to get you on.
interrupt anymore, but we'll talk to you later. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks,
Quick
Gary.
cameo.
Great cameo. Thank you.
I could have a whole bunch. I mean, I could have. There's so
Yes,
many people
I
here
know.
today.
You
I know.
could
I know.
just-
It's crazy.
Sorry, Kevin,
It just-
we're rolling out a new concept. It's called Party Crashers
Love it.
Shark Tank Edition.
Love that. Love that.
Hey, so we also, there's one other point of this that goes to the, and sorry, Candace, to totally
I know. I
interrupt and
asked
take
a
us off scotch.
question.
We
Well, but I'm
didn't
taking us
answer
off-
yet.
I know I
But I'm
haven't
always taking
answered
up-
Jackie's question either.
Hang on. I got one more question in there that you're going to have to talk about, and you're going to have to weave it all in there as a good entrepreneurial mind. Everybody's keeping up with me. You guys really understand that, right? So part of this actually is not just a cool VC meets founder dating. It is to benefit a passion of mine and Candace's and Kevin's, which is adaptive people on snow. Right. So Sky Tavern, which is the longest running nonprofit, and I'm so proud to be the president of the organization, is a nonprofit mountain where we help teach kids and adults to ski and snowboard and do freestyle. But we also have this subset that is super important to us. And Kevin, that's actually where we really connected in there, when you were already training and teaching on adaptive skiing, right? So this benefits the adaptive program, which Candace volunteers for at Sky Tavern. So talk about that passion, and then sweep back around, answer Candace's and Jackie's question, and
Okay.
we're done. We're out of here.
All right, will do. Yeah, so I mean, it is, adaptive sports is my cause, and I love it for so many reasons. And what I love most about it is just seeing people who may not have had the experience of being out of control and taking them out into the outdoors and giving them that experience. It's phenomenal. And I could tell stories about that for hours, and I would start crying because I seem to cry every time I talk about teaching adaptive skiing and writing, because it's just phenomenal. It's just so much fun and so fulfilling for everybody.
That's cool. And I'm gonna take one little side on there. So I'm gonna get Angela to put this up on there. We have a young man who is just the biggest smile when you take him out on the mountain, and it's great to watch him going down the mountain. But the bigger story there is that his whole family is now back out on the mountain. So they loved the sport of sliding around on snow, which is crazy. But when you have especially when you have an event that happens where, and by the way, being disabled is the class any one of us at any given time could slide into as a minority, right? So it's something that for all of us to be paying attention to, because it is a reality of what life is like. So if you have this event happen to you, then it doesn't just impact that person. It impacts everybody within the family. And so we get the whole family out on the snow, which is just so wonderful. So Angela, I'm going to shoot that to you on this link. It's like a 3-minute thing, so you can see that. We've got Kevin's link for that. And now answer Candace and Jackie's question. I won't say anything else.
Okay, good. So I didn't mean good like you want to answer or say anything else, but thank you for that. So yeah, taking it full circle. So in the full year 2024, I did a little over 250 pitches where I delivered those pitches. The one thing that I learned, and this is going to answer Jackie's question first, is the best pitches do not get past the third slide. And the reason is the answer to Candace's question. And the reason is because people invest in people. And so if you are able to just share your story and why you're even embarking on this adventure of starting a business or growing a business, and you're able to, in a very authentic way, just tell your story as the founder in the first 1 or 2 slides, the rest of it is just conversational, because investors get pulled into people and story. And so, and there's another sales adage, which is if you're explaining, you're not closing, right? And I don't think I said the adage right, but you get the idea. So this is also true when pitching for capital. If you're describing or explaining how the product works or how it's manufactured, if it's a physical product, or the service delivery method, you're losing your audience.
Yeah.
The story is about, yeah, just stop. Right, exactly. The story is about you as a founder and to some extent the audience, the people who are going to be your buyers. And if you tell that story right in the first 3 minutes, then the rest of it is just conversational. The best pitches are conversational. Now that said, this lunch and learn really is about pitch readiness, right? So do have your financials in order. Do have pro formas available that actually make sense, where you're not just making up numbers, but it's actually tied to something. If it's tied to real world data from your own company, that's better. If you have to rely on a competitor's data, that's okay as well. So I'll pause there for a second and go ahead and fire away with more pitch readiness
So you talk about
questions.
the person, and I've seen this a few times where, and I'm wondering what your thought is. There's times where I really wonder if the founder is the right person to be doing the pitch. It doesn't mean that I don't believe in them as the founder, but they may not be the right person to do the pitch, especially depending on the audience. Usually, a lot of founders are surrounded by other people who maybe have been there since really early stage, early days. And there's times where I see somebody, and because it is such a still human to human connection, I believe there's times where I'm like, ugh, this really, you probably would have gotten further if you had had somebody else, if you had dropped the ego a little bit and had somebody else on your team do that pitch. What are your kind of thoughts, I guess, there? Do you prefer that it be the founder? I think a lot of founders get really married to it's their baby. They need to do it.
So yeah, wearing the investor hat, I actually do prefer pitches from founders. And what you said, Candace, is spot on. Some founders are not good at pitching. Now, I do pitch coaching. I know all of you do pitch coaching, and it is an art that can be developed, right? It's a skill that can be acquired. Um, but you're absolutely right that not everyone is great at pitching or will get great at it. And if someone else in the company can, then absolutely delegate
Well,
wherever
so
possible, right?
so here's where I go down that story to support what you just said, which was, and we can look at Woz and Jobs. Wozniak is by far the better storyteller, although Wozniak's not a bad storyteller, but you know, Steve Jobs was the storyteller of that deal, and that becomes the wealth and driving and the vision of the company, and so that's critically important. However, there are founders that are simply the inventor side of that story, and so they've got to be involved somewhere in the capital raising scenario. But you bring in, and this is the times I usually argue that there really aren't co-founders. There's one true visionary, but that visionary is not always the leader of the company within driving the company side. So in that case, we're actually meeting with a group right now that's got a great product. The founder's not going to be the one that's out on the roadshow very often. They're part of the story, but the next person in is a co-founder and has title a co-founder in there. And I think that becomes really important in that story, because I think if we don't meet the founder, we have a total different value about what that company is.
But
I think
vice
It's just an
versa,
idea.
if we don't meet the team, sometimes I question
Oh,
the founder too, right? I mean, all the times
it's all the time.
it can't
I
be
mean,
a one person
the
job.
number one thing, and I said this yesterday in DC. I said one of the values that we had behind this company that has been there is every founder generally is not a very good CEO. It's almost universal, right? So they might be an inventor, they might be the visionary, but they're very rarely the CEO type. However, every founder that we've backed that has been successful has been able to attract and retain talent. If they repel talent, the deal doesn't work because they just continually blow the thing up.
it's
Right.
Mhm.
also a
So
logistical challenge. Like we have seen founders have come to us. They don't know raising capital is a full-time job. So
full
when we
time.
see, I hear you, Kevin, loud and clear. We want to hear from the founder, but at the same time, it can't be the founder hitting the streets, doing the road show, full-time raising capital, and also running the company and CEOing and doing all the things. There's a great question in the chat that just came through. It says, the suggestion about making a pitch conversational is confusing. 20 plus VCs have stated to us the most important 3 slides are problem, solution, and financials, or in other words, what's in it for the VC. None of those 3 slides are about the founders, which is important. But in the first 3 slides, question mark.
Oh, well, I'll jump on that, but Kevin, why don't you take it first, and I'm happy to jump in there.
Yeah, so a couple things there. So yeah, I agree with that, and I had it brought up a case study here where I had a client recently, where I had a pitch scheduled for them. The founder was very good at pitching, and they shared an updated version of their deck with me before this pitch call. And I knew the investor very well, and I said the most important thing this investor wants to know is X. And you need to spell that out very distinctly on the 3rd slide. You've got it buried at like slide 8. It's got to be on the 3rd slide because that's the only thing they care about. And then we got into the pitch. They had not changed that on the deck. And after the 3rd slide, the investor said, "Hey, hang on a minute. This is the only thing I really care about. Is that in here somewhere?" And I was like, "Please, why don't you listen?" Right? So there is some art and some science to this, but one of the critical pieces is knowing your ask, and in the case you just gave, Jackie, they're saying that should be on slide 3. Know your financials and know what the ask is. One of the most important things is that I'm seeing lately is founders cannot succinctly answer the use of funds question. And that drives me crazy. Like, you're asking for the money and you don't know what to do with it. That does not instill confidence with investors. So make sure you know what the ask is. Are you asking for debt or equity or some combination of, or safe notes, right? Know how, what the mechanics of those different financial instruments are and what that means to your company, and be able to succinctly answer how the funds are going to help your company and help your business grow.
Well, so in our model in the XY axis, the place we start when we're looking at where we're going to make an investment is it a big problem? And if it's solved, is it worth a lot? Is there an opportunity here that's big? Because if it's not big, it gets boring and it's not really anything to solve, right? So that's going to be part of it. And then the second part is it protectable if we figure out how to solve it? Because if it's not protectable, then it's not anything that's going to be a true value business for us. It's great if it goes out there and it's free for everybody, but if we couldn't monetize it, then what good was it from this standpoint? Then we get into the passion of the founder. And then we get into the credibility of the team, right? As we're getting down the X axis, because we're looking at those. So that in answer to that, it's not about the founder and how the founder was brilliant and, ooh, I came across this problem and I've got the solution. That's the last fucking thing I want to hear on this stuff, right? Because now it's about the egocentric of the founder and the founder goes away. It's not that that's part of it. We know that's part of the story, but it's like this was a pain point and you make the person identify that pain. And here's the solution. And this is the team I've brought together because it's bigger than me. Because if it was just about me, then it's not very big of an opportunity. And these are the challenges we're going to overcome. And to Kevin's point, this is the next stage of the money and what we're going to do with that stage of the money, which takes us to then the next stage. And this is why we're looking at it. And what all of that has is credibility. It's got the problem, the solution, what it means to the investor that we're going to have an exit that's going to be a 10x in 36 months down the road, or 3x or whatever. It doesn't have to be 10x, by the way. It definitely doesn't have to be 1,000x. Don't swing for those. If we make 25% on average annual return on our investments, we are thrilled campers. So that's my model.
Just add too, I think part of what I'm looking for sometimes is, especially in this world of AI, and Kevin hit on it right at the beginning, was that human element. And so I think while, yes, there is a structure to what your slides do and the order in which you present, I'm reading between the lines on these. So we had a pitch a few lunch and learns ago, and it was for a creative storytelling product. And for me to get to know the founder, I would have loved to have seen a weave of storytelling through that pitch. And so I guess I look through the pitch as another way that shows me who the founder is, the story of this. You can use an AI to create a pitch. Sure. That does not tell me a lot about the person, the people behind what they're raising capital for. So I do think there's a way to weave in the pieces about the founders and the underlying passion and the goals within all of those points.
We had another great question just come in the chat. Richard says, my company name explains the whole company, justlifeinsurance.com. And then he says, I know the use of funds, but coming up with revenue is difficult. No one knows when someone is going to need life insurance. How do I address that?
Well, what's the core problem we're solving for here? Is it just growth capital, or is there an issue finding customers? Is it a marketing issue or is it a fundraising issue? I think that's my question.
Great clarifying question. I'll watch the chat. That is, I agree with Candace. It was a pleasure to be on a panel with you, Kevin. You ask very, very thoughtful, clear questions that prompt a lot of thinking, a lot of critical thinking.
Yeah,
it's fun
in this case, it sounds a lot like a marketing issue, not a fundraising issue.
He said pre-seed at this time, most of the funds will be used for marketing.
Okay.
Well, I think the first challenge is that the name itself clarifies it to him, but it certainly doesn't clarify it to me. life insurance in of itself, and the name life insurance doesn't solve any problem. Life insurance in of itself is a reason of something else going on, such as, is it to insure the 22-year-old that just had a baby and they want to make sure that if something happens to them because they're on an oil rig and they die, is their kid still going to be able to go to college? Or is it somebody who is getting married and they're 32 years old and that's a different model? Or there's somebody that's made some money and are utilizing that whole life policy to be able to fund their retirement accounts and be able to borrow from themselves in the future? Or is it somebody that's 68 years old that's looking at establishing life insurance to be able to do the exit? So the life insurance itself is not the solution. It's not the story, and it's definitely not the problem. So from that standpoint, if you're looking to do the marketing, you've got this domain. Now what you need to be able to do is, what problem do you solve? And then by solving that, by being able to track the people in there and having this data here, get you to that next stage. And what does it mean when you do raise those marketing dollars? And what does that mean to the investor?
And
That's
I'm on the
exactly
site right now, and I would say, yeah, I mean, there were I love that you got the name. We're missing a lot of the story here. I'm sure I'm gonna actually I have quite a few thoughts, but I'm sure Kevin, being our our mastermind, uh, he's got some thoughts.
Yeah, so I'll just follow on with what Tom said, that I mean, we're at a point where AI can actually help you create your ideal customer profile, your ICP, right? And this is a case where I would hone in on that. So very much like what Thomas was saying, determine again who are you going after? What does it cost to reach them? Because if the use of funds is marketing, then you need to know what your cost per acquisition is going to be and what channels you're going to market through, and really hone in on that part of the story that I really want to help, whatever, new parents or retirees. And if it's both, have a marketing plan for each and drill down on the cost per acquisition of each audience or sub audience. So I would start there, and then you know, we were teaching this a lot on stage recently on a Shark Tank style panel where you know, it's all about describing the problem first. And unfortunately with life insurance, you can paint a pretty dramatic picture, right? You know.
Huge. Yeah, huge. But you can also create it from a standpoint of, imagine that it doesn't always have to be about the life, right? Imagine you're 65 years old and you get your first, Social Security check, and it's not going to cover everything you want. And by the way, you may or may not be able to be taxed on that based off of, whatever the current administration says. However, imagine at 32 years old, you could forecast to that point and be taking out $15,000 a month that is tax-free at that point through a very legitimate, very proven model. And so now that didn't have anything to do with death. That had everything to do with what life insurance could be used for in a different model of that scenario, right? So it's like, okay, let's get you through the modeling and everything else that goes into there and forward forecasting. That's a different story than I'm selling to the young parent to make sure that they're protected in case they die, right? So
Yeah.
that's
Yes.
the different scenarios. That's why, and by the way, there's different people for different investings in there. But to Kevin's point, if you're going to raise marketing dollars, then you better know your marketing numbers, which is, here's our cost of acquisition, our client click through, here's the model, here's the pitch, here's how it goes, and here's the track record of, we've shown this. We've done a beta test of buying LinkedIn ads, or we bought Facebook or whatever the right space is, and we've shown this pull through model. And we believe that at $100,000 investment, we're going to be able to quadruple that net return for the investor over a 3-year period of time, right? So that's a different, but then I need to know, can they actually handle that volume? Do they have the team in place? Are they going to be able to do that? Who's the seller? What's their margins? What are they going to do? What's it going to look like? All those things that go into it.
We have a couple other of good questions in the chat, but we're coming up
We're
against
past time.
I
We're coming
know.
up on time. There are resources on our website, foundersoffice.com. Kevin, what's the best way for people to find you if they've got follow-up questions, other than come to Tahoe on March 1st and try to find you on a ski lift?
Try to get the bib to sit with Kevin.
Yeah, so the Sastermind can be found at sastermind.net for any tech founders and investors. It can include AI and blockchain now in that equation, and almost always does now. So that's one easy way to connect with me. Certainly on LinkedIn, I'm Kevin Peterson 1 with the number 1. Do reach out on LinkedIn.
Angela just popped that into the chat for everyone.
Perfect.
Thanks, Angela.
Yes.
Kevin Peterson 1, as though there's any other. There can't be any others, right?
Number 1.
Thank you so
one.
much for joining us, Kevin. It's super insightful always.
Yes, thank you. And we've got links in the chat. Make sure to snag those before you go. And definitely check out liftpitchtahoe.com. We're really, really excited for that event.
And last thing, we're doing one more lunch and learn this year. Next week, Wednesday, join us at the regular time. And then we're taking 2 weeks off for the holidays. And we will pick back up in the new year on January 7th. Angela also just shared Kevin's sastermind.net link in the chat as well. So grab that, please, before we close out. And thank you again for joining us. Oh, Tom.
Hey, Jackie, can we add in there that we love when people actually have the gumption to come on and make a pitch. So we're going to bring experts on at various times, but we've talked about bringing the band back together, and we can get our good friend Godet and Kevin, right, and myself and you and Candace, and we're happy to have these pitches come on here. So if you want to walk through these things and you have that, you're welcome to submit that to us as well in advance, and we're happy to do something like that. Or if you have other topics you'd like us to be chatting about, otherwise we'll continue on this and look forward to 2026.
Yeah, great call. Angela, if you don't mind putting one more link in the chat or an email address, if someone is interested in pitching. Oh, you got a QR code for us.
So fancy.
Woo-woo.
Yeah.
Woo!
All
Awesome.
right. If you're interested in doing a pitch, contact information is up on the screen now. So grab a snapshot or a screen grab of that, or head right to those QR codes. And just let us know you'd like to pitch, and we'll get you all set up.
Awesome. Kevin, thank you so much. Jackie, Bally, how is it? It's evening right now, so thank you for joining us in the evening.
Sure.
Late evening almost now.
It's 3 a.m. No, it's coming on 5 a.m.
You're a
Sun will
monster.
come up in maybe an hour.
Yeah, I love it. So,
You look
and you're
so
not
bright
just on,
and shiny for 4 in the morning.
I think that's just my laptop brightness.
You look so refreshed.
and Kevin, you're stuck in the hotel room, and so am I. So, well, thank you guys as we're coming into December. Thanks for joining.
Everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for having me on.
Foundersoffice.com. Take care.